Tony, thanks for grabbing me.
I'm going to plug this into my computer.
Right.
Yes.
And here's the thumb drive for it.
Oh, you don't?
And he's gonna have to okay. Is that the heater?
Right.
I'd like to welcome everyone to the San Mateo County Harbor District Board of Harbor Commissioners meeting for October 5th. Roll call, please.
Excuse me. I wasn't here, but I understand there was a special meeting with a closed session.
Yeah, my little
So
portable out.
do you need to
Report
close
out.
that special meeting and report out and then reconvene perhaps?
Yes.
Yeah, let's end our closed session meeting. There is no reportable action taken, but in order to continue the general manager's evaluation, I move that the cancellation of the November 16th meeting be rescinded. Is there a second?
Second?
Okay, roll call.
Commissioner Paravano.
Here. All right. Aye. Sorry about
Commissioner Giancarelli.
Aye.
Commissioner Matoush.
Aye.
Commissioner Bernardo.
Aye.
Commissioner Brennan.
Aye.
Thank you.
That's the November meeting.
Yes.
All right. Now that we're about to open our regular meeting, may we have a roll call?
Commissioner Bernardo?
Here.
Commissioner Brennan? Here. Commissioner Giancarelli?
Present?
Commissioner Paravano?
Here.
President Matoush?
Here. This is the part of the evening where the public may directly address the Board of Harbor Commissioners for a maximum of 3 minutes on any topic not on the agenda. And so far,
Could that sound?
Yes.
Yes, sure.
It's been turned off.
No, it's the air. Turn it off. We turn that off.
I think we tried.
all right, I have 2 public comments. Brian Rogers, please.
Yeah, it's not even that hot.
It's off, I don't know why.
Thanks.
Well, that'll make the evening fun. Yeah, my name is Brian Rogers. I'm here to ask a couple of questions. I had some folks who I know over at Oyster Point Marina call and ask me about whether or not the boats participated in the search and rescue last Saturday. And in fact, they asked, actually the question was, why didn't they participate in the search and rescue last Saturday? That was kind of concerning because, I mean, the dock workers have used it as justification for their income and their benefits. The district uses the fact that they do search and rescue as justification for the tax dollars they receive. And they didn't even feel the boat in that one. That went from, the search was from Oyster Point Marina down to the bridge. A 4 to 5 mile area of water that it doesn't make sense that the search and rescue boat that the district pays for stayed tied to the dock. They had time to go get one of the sheriff's boats. They had time to field one of the black Homeland boats. And yet, nobody from the district went out to participate in this. That strikes me as very odd and rather disappointing. Somebody ended up dying in the situation. Now, most likely because the weather was pretty bad. That was going to be an inevitable reality for what they went out and did. But still, not to have participated at all seems kind of opposite of what everybody says that the district is involved in and does. So hopefully we'll get a report sometime soon about what happened there, who made the decision that the district wasn't going to participate, and why. Search and rescue is theoretically what we do. So what happened? Wow.
Is there some way we can get that noise to?
John Ullum.
John Ullum, Half Moon Bay. Thanks for having me here.
Could you speak up because I'm having a really hard time?
Oh, sure.
Oh, thank you. Whoever did that, thank you.
Public service.
Thank you. John Ullum, Half Moon Bay. Thanks for having me here. I'd like to kind of like give a shout out to what I've seen happen over the last 2 years. I've been watching the district for about 4 years. I don't know, it's some kind of hobby or whatever. Kind of get into it. It's like a soap opera. People who watch soap operas understand that. I've read the minutes going back for a decade. And here's what I can tell you. Since Mr. McGraw has gotten here, this district has just really smoothed out. It seems like people are being treated in a way that they appreciate being treated respectfully. There doesn't seem to be favoritism being played. And I really admire the way it's being run. President Mateusz, some people are taking credit for correcting the board. I believe you deserve that credit, sir. You've had a lot, you obviously have 5 or 4 strong personalities to corral, and I think you've done a very fair job and have been a credit to the district itself. And then, Commissioner Brennan, I think you deserve a big, huge bit of credit because you did create the space for all this to happen. No organization that has had 20 years to run the way it wants to run with hardly any oversight or any inspection is going to enjoy being exposed for its deficiencies. And nobody who's part of that organization is going to be very popular for doing that. And I think you can see that throughout history in any kind of group. That whistleblowers and people who complain, people who ask too many questions, are generally not supported by their peers in the organizations in which they find themselves. Some things that aren't going on anymore that we can all be proud of is rent checks are not piling up in drawers. People aren't having their boats with liens placed on them who have paid their bills and shouldn't have those liens. I'm pretty sure now that there's no way that we would ever spend $35,000 for technology that we never got and nobody knew we never got. I'm pretty sure Mr. McGraw is on top of that. There's all kinds of examples of that kind of change from how things have gone on for the last 20 years and what's been going on for the last 4. And it's been hard. A lot of people have had their egos bruised, but that's just what change is sometimes. And that's just inevitable. So I'd like you all to take credit where credit is due. Mr. McGraw, President Mateusz, and Commissioner Brennan. Thanks.
Had a request for a public comment from General Manager McGraw.
Thank you, President Mateusz. The first thing I'd like to announce is that we have managed to hire a permanent Director of Administrative Services, Tobin White, who will be joining the district on November the 14th. Tobin was the General Manager of the Port of Cascade Locks in Oregon for a number of years. Most recently has been working as a tribal administrator for a couple of different tribes in California. Degree in finance, degree in economics with a major in finance and public administration, and I want to thank him for agreeing to join our team and to thank the people who made the recruitment possible. And I can't take this opportunity I can't avoid taking this opportunity to thank Glenn Lazoff as our interim Director of Admin for the work that he has done since he joined the district in May, the wise counsel and support that he's provided to me as the GM, and the way that he's made some of the improvements that Mr. Holland just referenced possible. I mean, certainly it's all a team effort, but Glenn has done an outstanding job. And I know that he's laid a solid foundation for Tobin to come in and join the team. I'm very pleased about that. On another item, I would like to say that in the process of transitioning to a monthly meeting, we have not done a good job about keeping the public and the commission apprised through what were regular activity reports. And I'll be looking at the process to make sure that we can come up with a good way to get those activity reports to the commission on a timely basis, get them onto the website so that that information is out there. Sort of the sort of things that are included in that, a very brief rundown of the PRAs that we've got, the Public Records Act request that we've got. South San Francisco, that was basically it was called off prior to the completion because of the improved communication between us and the South City. Commissioner Brennan has a PRA, West Trail, that's partially complete. Daily Post, we've just received a PRA from them regarding some legal and settlement costs. And from John Holland, we just received a PRA to do an email search regarding I'm not sure the technical term, but an impersonation claim, and some full stuff that was put out there. To help manage those, we will be implementing the next request very soon. That's it. If Mr. Mooney is here, I don't see Mr. Mooney. Okay. In that case, that's it for public comment. Thank you very much.
Item C on our agenda tonight is staff introductions. So who will I look forward to for our staff introductions?
I'd like to introduce 3 of our new staff for the Harbor District. We've got Michael Dyer. Michael is working at Oyster Point Marina, Harbor worker. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And then we've got Joseph Robertson.
Hi, everybody.
Joseph stationed at Clear Point Harbor.
Happy to be aboard. Thanks.
Welcome. Welcome.
And Daniel Hosher. Daniel's working at Clear Point as well.
Welcome.
Look forward to seeing everyone at their respective harbors. Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you.
Item D is commissioner comments. A member of the Board of Harbor Commissioners may make public statements limited to 5 minutes. Do we have any commissioners that would like to make a statement?
I will.
Commissioner Corrali.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank the staff for putting together and sponsoring the Fish and Fleet event, which is held in September. I attended, and it was a wonderful event, and I think our staff did the Harbor District proud, and so kudos to y'all. And I want to welcome the new staff, because I know you're going to fit right in, it looks like, and we're ready to have y'all hit the ground running. Thank you.
Thank you.
I
Any
have a
other-
comment.
Commissioner Brennan.
Thank you. So I just wanted to ask that we, at some point in the future, get a report on the outcome of the Spirit of Sacramento. I know that's been in the news quite a bit, and it would be good to, I think, have some closure on what the outcome was, or is. I don't know if that's figured out yet or not.
It is, would you like to report right now?
We can certainly agendize that for a future meeting. We can do it.
And just for the
Comprehensive.
public's knowledge, the Spirit of Sacramento is a large, is it a paddle boat? Paddle boat?
Simulator.
Yeah,
Simulated.
simulated paddle boat that was docked at Oyster Point Marina for several years, and it was sold in auction, and then it sunk in the Delta. Does that sound right? Yeah, in the Delta, and there were environmental issues, to say the least. Big mess, huge vessel, really hard to move. So it's sort of a situation that I think is still in process. Thank you.
So I'm going to have a little comment here. At our finance committee, we started talking about the value of tablets. The last couple of agendas have been very, very thick, tremendous number of pages, and at some point, it's not up to me to direct the staff, but if we could start looking towards the feasibility of tablets. So, and there was some discussion about Adobe Acrobat. We can make notes on our agendas. The biggest thing I used to like about this is I got my yellow marker out. I'd have my pen for my comments, so I knew what to say when. Well, apparently, there's a way to do that in the 21st century, maybe even the 20th century, and I just didn't know Adobe Acrobat. But I would like to seriously pursue tablets to reduce the paper costs that we've got here. We've already increased the efficiency of our agendas. The public requested, and we complied with being able to have subjects so you can download a small portion. You don't have to get the 600-page version. If we could get some framework in the background working towards that, find out who would own them, how we could use them, what we can share, whether it's just public, whether it's, if you have a tablet, can you use it privately? There's a lot of things to answer. should we buy one, should the district buy one? But I'd just like a good report so that all of us would stop carrying the Robert size binder. Thank you. So before we get on the consent calendar, I'd like to say that the San Mateo County Harbor District has a long consent agenda tonight. I'm going to ask items pulled from the consent agenda be discussed after item 19. This will move discussion of consent items to the end of the meeting to attend to pressing business first. Perhaps you've been to meetings where a standard agenda item is to permit the chair to take items out of order. While I don't want that to become standard operating procedure, I am asking your support to attend to lessee business so they do not have to listen to discussion on consent items. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I'd like to comment.
Comment?
Just wanted to point out that we do have someone here, a consultant, who's here related to a consent item. So maybe we could have that item heard earlier in the meeting, so that he doesn't have to wait for the entire meeting. I'm seeing him smiling back there about that. And that item, which I was planning to pull, is, let's see what item it is. 12? Yeah, 12, which is approval of an application for Proposition 84 grant funding from California Ocean Protection Council for the planning of the Pilot Surfers Beach Sand Replenishment Project and adopt resolution number 1316.
Okay, I've had a request to pull items 12 and 14. Are there any other items people would like to pull?
Well, that one I'd like to hear earlier in the meeting. I don't care about the rest of them, but I would like to pull 1, 10, 12, and 13.
We have a motion to approve items 2 through 9.
So moved.
Second.
Do we need a roll call or we're good?
Yeah, we need a roll
We need
call.
11 as well.
Although it's information only.
Right, there's no action for that, right?
Right.
I would have liked to have heard something, but that's fine. Okay. So is it 2 through 9 or 2?
15.
Okay. 2 through 9 is what's on the table right now. So roll call.
Commissioner Bernardo?
Aye.
Commissioner Brennan? I'm going to abstain. And the reason I'm abstaining is because I haven't read the minutes, so that's why. Commissioner Champerlain?
Aye.
Commissioner Carabano?
Aye.
President Easters?
Aye. So we're pulling 10, 12,
We need action on 11. Well, we don't need action on 11, we need action on 15.
Right.
so we need action on item 15. And where's the other one?
No, 15 is the ordinance, changing the titles essentially.
Okay,
So,
discussion on 15, well, first let's try trial balloon.
I'll
Is
make
there
a
a motion
motion.
to-
I will make a motion. I move to adopt resolution 2816, revising district ordinance and conflict of interest code.
Second.
Comments? Roll call.
Commissioner Bernardo?
Aye.
Commissioner Brennan? Aye. Commissioner Champerlain?
Aye.
Commissioner Carabano?
Aye.
President Easters?
Aye. All right, so we're at, is there a motion to approve item 11?
What about 10?
10's already been
I'm
pulled.
sorry, okay, I thought it was
10,
2 through 9,
12,
sorry.
11 has no action.
11 is just information
We just
purposes.
receive it.
Yeah.
Don't need to take action.
Okay.
So we're at item
Okay.
12.
So now if you want to discuss item 12.
If you want to, just to give our consultant, item 12 is approval of an application for Proposition 84 grant funding from the California Ocean Protection Council for the planning of the Pilot Surfers Beach Sand Replenishment Project and adopt resolution 30-16. We get a staff report before our consultant.
Yes, good evening, Commissioners. The staff recommends that the board approve resolution number 30-16. San Mateo County Harbor District is applying for the California Ocean Protection Council Proposition 84 grant for a maximum of $75,000 to be used for planning, design, and engineering of the Pilot Surfers Beach Sand Replenishment Project. Policy implications: the project is consistent with the district's goals to eliminate or reduce threats to coastal erosion. Also allows for increased public access and enjoyment of the ocean and coastal resources. There are no fiscal impacts anticipated or budget impacts. Alternatives considered is we are going to, our consultant will continue to pursue additional grant funding as well. The background of this: the construction of the Pillar Point Harbor East Outer Breakwater resulted in shoaling within the breakwater, an erosion hotspot along Surfers Beach just to the east of the breakwater. Sand is being trapped inside our breakwater, and there's an erosion hotspot just to the southeast of the east breakwater. So what we wish to do, ideally, is move sand from the inside of the outer breakwater to the east side of the outer breakwater, thus replenishing the sand, renourishing the beach with good, clean, beach quality sand to the southeast of our east breakwaters. We've been working on this for quite some time, and Brad Damitz, who's here today, not necessarily to present anything, but to help answer any questions the commissioners might have. Brad's been working with the Ocean Protection Council, and there is a grant available for $75,000, up to $75,000, which will supplement the planning and design for this pilot project. We anticipate it being the design of the project totaling $150,000 to $200,000. So the $75,000 will supplement that amount, that total amount. We do already have monies, $200,000 budgeted for the dredging of the harbor, and those monies would also potentially be able to supplement this project because they're commingled. We'll be removing sand from the inside of the outer breakwater and replenishing the beach on the outside of the outer breakwater.
I have a question. So it's my understanding that right now what we're seeking money for is just planning, not actually moving material, correct?
That's correct. Planning and design.
Okay, planning and design. And I have a question for Brad, if you don't mind.
I'd like to introduce Brad Damitz.
Hi. So last time I heard from the, I forget the name of the lady at the Monterey Bay.
Karen Grimmer.
Yeah, okay, Karen. She mentioned that, that they had sort of a different take on things these days, and that if we as a district wanted to apply for a permit to move material now above the mean high tide line, she did not see that as a problem. Is that your understanding also?
Yeah, that's correct. So they have a prohibition in their regulations that says that they cannot even issue a permit to take sand that's been dredged and place it within the sanctuary boundaries. So they said, well, we're not allowed to permit this project. We see the value in the beach restoration aspect of it, and we'd like to see that sand placed on the beach. So you have two options that you could use at this point in time to be able to do that. One of them is to take a dredge and then put the material above mean high water. The problem with that is that a lot of the erosion issues are occurring within the sanctuary boundaries. The other option is to use heavy equipment like skip loaders and excavate that sand and then place it within the sanctuary boundaries, and for that they could issue a permit as long as it meets their permit issuance criteria, like it can't have significant environmental impacts and all that.
you mean the sand quality has to be clean?
Right, yeah, and that's also regulated by the EPA and a number of, quite a few regulations that ensure that the material has to be clean.
So it sounds like things have gotten a lot more optimistic as far as our ability to move this forward. Is that, am I
Yeah, that's right. And if you recall, probably a little over a year ago, the Monterey Bay Sanctuary wrote a letter to the Board of Harbor Commissioners saying exactly what I just said, except much more eloquently, saying we support such a project and here are some options that you can pursue to make this project happen. They've committed to being on the planning team for the project and working on permitting, so that's a positive.
Would it be possible for us to just go ahead and fill out a permit application to start the process of moving the material?
The problem is that a number of studies and planning has to be done. First, we need to determine the methods for moving the sand, the volumes, get the material tested to make sure there's no contaminants. And once we get some of that work done, which would be paid for by this grant, then we could start that permitting process. You could certainly, put in an initial permit application, but it's going to be really incomplete, and they're not going to look at it until it's ready to go.
Until this other work is done.
Exactly, yeah.
Got it, okay. So what do you think our chances are with this grant?
Very good. I think it's really good.
Great,
Yeah.
thank you.
It's going in as a staff recommendation from the OPC, so somebody on staff is recommending the project, which is, I think, a little bit,
That helps.
optimal.
Yeah, oh, okay, fingers crossed, thank you.
I might add as well, Brad, our consultant, was talked awfully highly about yesterday on a teleconference I was involved in with the Coastal Sediment Management Master Plan, or work group, developing a master plan. And Brad has been speaking with all of them involved, and
They really want to see the project.
putting us on the radar. We appreciate that, Brad.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, just a minute, Brad. We've got another question. Commissioner Crowley.
Hi, Brad, thanks for being here. Just, do you know when we'll know about this?
There's a Ocean Protection Council meeting on the 17th in Sacramento, and they'll make a decision that day.
Of October.
Of
Oh,
October.
here it is, yeah, I had it highlighted. Okay, great, great. Thank you, thanks for all your work.
I was just curious, I ran into Karen at a meeting here recently on whale entanglement. And she said that one of our permit processes was related around the funding, and that the Harbor District hadn't actually asked for a permit to do the other removal. And is there something else we need to do, or is this part of the current process? She said, we're not, the sanctuary is not sitting on a request by the Harbor District to actually just move the sand.
That's right. I mean, that's the next step after we do the planning. So there's a number of different permits. We need to work with the Coastal Commission and the EPA and the Regional Water Quality Control Board. There's probably 7 or 8 different agencies that we need to apply for permits for and get that started. But we can't do that until we have funding to get the process started. So soon.
All right, thank you.
So I'll move to approve the resolution number 3016 for the San Mateo County Harbor District applying for the California Ocean Protection Council Prop 84 grant for a maximum of $75,000 to be used for planning, design, and engineering of the pilot Surfers Beach Sand Replenishment Project.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Bernardo?
Aye.
Commissioner Brennan?
Aye.
Commissioner Jane Crowley?
Aye.
Commissioner Carabana?
Aye.
President Mateusz?
Aye. So we're going to go into the discussion section and finish up our pulled motions after we finish our discussion items. So the chair is taking items out of order. So number 1 is going to be item 17, assignment of lease of Princeton Seafood to Order on the Corner. Staff report from Interim Director of Operations or Interim Administrative, Mr. Lazoff.
Oh, okay. Well, in your packet, you have the lease, the documents, the lease assignment, the historical lease. We've been requested to do a lease assignment. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. The current owner of the lease is here in the meeting, And I don't know if you have any other questions besides the documents that are in your packet. I'll try to answer them as best I can.
Could you give us a more in-depth staff report on that? And just tell us what's happening here?
Sure.
Let me review the information that I have.
Lynn, I want to just thank you for the good staff report. I actually read it in the leases too. So I thought it was very clear. So thank you.
Looking for my page. Oh, here we go. Sorry. It's the big package. So this is the Princeton Seafood, which, as you know, is the restaurant on the corner there closest to Johnson Pier. Order at the Corner is Inc. is a newly formed California corporation that wants to be assigned this lease. The lease does specifically allow for this assignment. We received payment for the $500 for the costs associated with the approval of the assignment. I've reported to you that during the last full fiscal year, 2015-16, we received $62,288 in income from Princeton Seafood. This lease lasts, the current lease is through December 31st of 2031. And the part of the lease assignment, and I should clarify for you that that last sentence where it ends with, on the second page, second paragraph above the recommended motion that says documents also include the new assignees, the words personal guarantee was dropped. Personal guarantee is part of the lease assignment. This is a new California corporation. Not sure if I've left out, we did review some of the proprietary information. We're satisfied that this lessee has met the standards of that we need for financial stability.
So I move that the lease assignment between Princeton Seafood and Order at the Corner, Inc. be approved and authorize general manager to execute documents as necessary.
I'll second that.
Roll call.
Commissioner Bernardo?
Aye.
Commissioner Brennan?
Aye.
Commissioner Jean Carlin?
Aye.
Commissioner Giordano?
Aye.
President Mateusz?
Aye.
I would just like to mention a couple of comments to Mary and Marty. I think we started working at the district at the harbor about the same time. And I think all of us have seen the expansion that your business has grown into and the expansion that the harbor has grown. And I owe a lot of that expansion and visibility and exposure to you as a couple and as a business. I can say with a lot of happiness that you have provided us with a lot of success, a lot of destination points, a lot of answers that people have asked in terms of where does the seafood come from, you know, what to do, what is it, where you can stay when tourists come by. I know you provided us with a lot of assistance when I was president of the local Fishermen's Association. You provided us with a lot of assistance for your cooking facilities, hand walking or hand carrying your Star Award chowder to the promenade. And the bottom line is that we're going to miss you. And you really have done us a major, major service. And I think you're a model for the community. And everything that you've done for the schools, for the church, and for the community is really first class. So it's,
Thank you.
with those words, I want to thank you.
I too have been here since the 80s and the 90s, and as long as I've been working in Pillar Point Harbor, you two have been a fixture and contributed a whole lot.
Yeah. And have also made it possible for people who are a little bit skittish at preparing fish to enjoy fresh seafood from our local fishermen. And I know that that hasn't probably brought in a lot of revenue, but when you cook crab for people and clean fish, it's like, I know my family has really appreciated that because we're not that great at doing that, and it's a really great public service. So you've made our local seafood more accessible for the general public, and I really appreciate that.
Also surprised at the number of employees that I've seen you employ over the past 2 decades. And you watch these kids grow up and take other positions within the community. So I have to also thank you for that very much.
I think you just put one on staff.
Joe worked for us as a kid. Well, thank you.
Well, thank you for training our employees.
Those are very, very kind words, Mary, and I do appreciate it.
Very much.
There's something significant about this move that we are undertaking. It's interesting, Mary and I were talking about it, that today, actually, 35 years ago, we started Princeton Seafood Company.
With Donnie Pemberton.
With Don Pemberton.
And we will be around to help the new owners to make sure that they are, and they're very qualified, but we will be there with them too. So I want it to be successful. We sort of feel like we're sending our baby off to college. So we have a vested interest in that baby too.
Can you remind us how many grandkids you guys have now and how old they
Well,
are?
we have 6 and 1 on the way.
Okay.
Our daughter had twins in April, so we got a lot right there. Yeah, so thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you. Love your clam
Now
chowder.
go pull the cork on that bottle of champagne.
Actually, not quite yet. There's one more hurdle to get through, but
It's just,
we're looking forward to.
You're close.
we're very close now, thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to item 18, 3 Captains Seafood Additional Hoist. Staff report, please.
Thank you. This is my item, President Mateusz. This item has been before this commission in the past, and I would like to say that this report, I know there may be many issues out there at the end of the pier, but this report addresses the request received only and not other issues. And we've talked on many occasions, this commission has talked about this hoist, and in March of 2013, the district executed leases with the Free Fish Buyers Union of Johnson Pier. And the leases included a phrase that said, amongst other things, that the tenant may provide a second winch and hoist at a location improved in advance by the harbor master. In April of 14, 3 captains requested and the harbor master approved a location for a hoist for a probationary period. In September of 14, 3 captains submitted an application to the Coastal Commission for a CDP, and in October of 14 received notice of the staff recommendation for a waiver. In March of 15, this commission directed the acting general manager to notify 3 captains that the probationary period was terminated and to remove the hoist by July the 2nd of 2015. Additionally, this commission directed that all future hoist locations be considered by the Board of Commissioners prior to harbor master approval, and that all permits be in place prior to final district approval. It's based on that action by this commission that this item is before you this evening. In January 16, the district received a letter from 3 captains requesting continued discussion arbitration around a second hoist location, and due to pending litigation, the matter could not be addressed at that time. But in February of 2016, 2016, Superior Court dismissed the lawsuit with prejudice. And so in April of 2016, I, as the general manager, sent Mr. Furtado for 3 captains a letter requiring that, as previously directed by the commission, the hoist be removed from its current location. The upper portion of the hoist was removed, the pedestal base remains with my approval. So subsequent to that, there have been a number of occasions where Mr. Furtado and I have met and discussed, have walked on the pier, have communicated, and we did receive a request for a second hoist location. In the staff report, you see a clip out of a set of plans for the initial hoist location showing the relocated location. And then there's an aerial photograph that shows the location of the hoist removed and the requested location for the new hoist across the pier and adjacent to the work dock area. So staff has studied Mr. Furtado's proposal carefully and determined that placing a hoist in this location raises several significant issues. So the dock below, first of all, the dock below would need to be removed, and this dock is used on a regular basis by skiff patrons and district staff securing of impounded vessels. Immediately to the west of this location,
Some
there's...
of the public can't hear you. If you could speak a little louder.
I'm sorry, I apologize. Immediately to the west of the requested location, there is an area of the pier that is wood, not concrete, as the rest of the pier, above which the freezers are located and other storage. This will have, this area needs to be completely reworked. There are funds for this in the 2016-17 district budget approved by this commission or adopted by this commission. And when that happens, that work will have significant impacts on all areas of the pier adjacent to the work area. Relocation of facilities, other work, work staging, so on and so forth. So that's going to be a significant project that will have impacts around that area. Third item we identified that we don't have in the district's budget is that the fender piles in this location on wood are in deteriorated condition and would need to be replaced prior to any use of this area of the pier for offloading. I think perhaps most significantly, the pier in this area is already heavily impacted. I think anybody who's been out to the end of the pier during the busiest part of crab season or squid season can recognize that with multiple forklifts, multiple trucks, multiple boats unloading, to do anything that would impede or impact the movement there at the end of the pier could have significant operational issues for all users, including perhaps Mr. Furtado. In the image shown there, there is, it's not very clear, a smaller flatbed truck on the left, a truck backed up, and you can see a box truck out at the end of the pier. One of the things that this commission and staff and the users of the pier talked about is our enhancements to the pier. And this was as proposed and discussed in the 2016 Tiger Grant application, which was unfortunately unsuccessful. But staff communicated with Mr. Furtado regularly regarding his proposal over the course of several months and explained the concerns that rendered his preferred location unworkable. In the recently received communication from Mr. Furtado, included as a part of your package, Mr. Furtado raises the issue of inequity due to Mr. McHenry's second hoist location. This is not the item for discussion this evening. This item is simply to address the request that was received of staff. So going back to the action taken by this commission, where in the commission directed that this matter return for further consideration prior to any final action by staff. Staff recommends that this commission concur with the proposed staff recommendation to deny the request. Adopt resolution 3216 denying the request for placement of a hoist in the requested location. And additionally, as a part of this final action, staff will require the removal of the pedestal from its current location. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. I do want to recognize Mr. Furtado, who's in the audience this evening, and we'll take it from there.
You have public comment?
Yes.
Yeah.
So for public comment, I'd like to call on Tom Falk. So please identify yourself and your affiliation.
I'm a commercial fisherman. I fish for Larry Furtado, and My concern is, I do believe he needs that extra hoist at that location because we have to go through a tunnel at his shop and it takes like 3 times as long as the other buyers where they can just pull in their trailers and just unload right there. But we have to move our pots like 3 or 4 times before we can even get into the boat. And then it's just, we have a backlog of 15 boats that he services up to 20, 25. And to unload, it's a really, the word is competitive to get our pots out there and get back with the load of crab. And I just think it's a no-brainer for the commission to allow them to have that hoist there. It'd help him service his boats and it'll help us. It'd be a lot safer, and I think the commission should reconsider that location. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. George Wales. Please state your name and affiliation.
Thank you, President Mateusz. George Wales. I'm representing 3 captains as their counsel. And the issue here is very simple. You as commissioners approved a lease in April of 2013, as Mr. McGraw indicated. It had, for the very first time in the 30 years 3 captains have been there, a provision negotiated by Larry with your then general manager, Peter Grinnell, for a second hoist. The whole purpose of the second hoist is described in the materials we submitted. Larry signed a letter to you explaining the historical reasons, but you agreed. You said yes. 3 captains should have a second hoist. Since then, you approved, after many meetings and discussions, you approved a location in March of 2014, a letter from Scott Grindy of April of 2014, the location where the hoist was constructed at $35,000 cost to 3 captains. The hoist was never used. An issue came up for the first time. The commission said you have to get coastal commission approval. A permit was applied for. Within a year, the commission made a decision to withdraw the approval of that site. In the year and a half since the commission withdrew its approval, Mr. Furtado and 3 captains has tried to find another location. Certainly, as Mr. McGraw indicated, since he missed one thing, we attached as Exhibit 7, which is at page 18. We attached a February 10, 2016 letter from predecessor council to the Harbor District saying, may we please have the same location we had before. The Coastal Commission never rejected that, the petition for a permit. The commission sent a letter to the Coastal Commission before it made its decision saying we've withdrawn our permission. Larry Furtado has had a number of discussions with staff. Mr. McGraw is new, as you know, and he doesn't know the history of the hoists and lack of hoists and the issues that have arisen over the years. And there was no feedback about an alternate site. First, there was no feedback on the original site, which, as Mr. McGraw indicated, is at page, it's your page 18.4, it's at page 4 of his report. It indicates where the hoist was in April of 2014, and the post is still there. Then, when no response was given on, actually the response was the commission will never approve that site. That's the response he finally got on the site where Mr. McGraw has indicated 3 captains hoist now removed. And yes, Larry Furtado, when 3 captains was instructed to remove the hoist, removed the top part of the hoist. So when that response was given that the commission would never approve the site where he had the hoist, Mr. Furtado asked for another site. That's the site that he's asking for tonight. Mr. McGraw's response is consistent with what staff said before. It's too hard. It's impractical. So
I need you to wrap up.
3 captains agrees with that. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear the other one. 3 captains agrees. 3 captains ask that you provide the hoist location, which is required by the lease, right where it was, right where you approved 2 years ago, at the site that's on the south side of the pier. Harbor staff, both Mr. Grinnell and Mr. Grindy, approved that site as the best site. And if I could do one thing, Exhibit 7 quotes from Mr. Miller's letter, but I'd like to quote what Mr. Miller said about that site in his September 23rd, 2014 letter to Mr. McHenry's attorney. The placement of the additional hoist, which 3 Captain Sea products, like Pillar Point Seafood, has a right to under Section 8(9)(b)(1) of the lease, was approved by the district's harbor master. Here's the important language: after careful consideration of the location of existing fire protection equipment, existing freezers, and the needs of the work dock. Locating a hoist at any other location would have required impractical relocation of other facilities to the detriment of all the lessees, including to Pillar Seafood. The whole reason that lease provision was added 3 years ago by this commission was to allow 3 captains to fairly and efficiently unload the way the other 2 tenants can. Behind the building, as suggested by staff, is not viable. That's why you added that provision, and we urge you to approve. You're the only ones that can do it. You said it has to be.
Please be aware of how much generosity we've exhibited in
Thank
letting
you.
you go over
I
your 3
appreciate it.
minutes.
Thank you very much.
Jason Newland.
Good evening, Jason Newland. I run 3 captains at the end of the pier, which means I oversee the loading and unloading of crab pots to the boats. I work closely with trucking, everything that goes on there. I'm a main aspect of. I do want to support the hoist for 3 captains. I feel not only for 3 captains, but for the harbor in general, it will eliminate, not create, congestion on the end of the pier. The reason being is sometimes you have someone like Mallory or Porter, and they are backed up, and maybe I don't have anything going on, But those boats will want to stage their crab pots out there, which creates congestion. Now, if I have the opportunity to help someone, which, anyone who knows me out there knows that I'm more than willing to help. Whatever gets them out there to get the job done, I feel is important. And, like I say, I'm here to support the installation of a hoist for 3 captains, and just to, I do feel it will be not just for the 3 buyers out there, but the fishermen in general. It will help to eliminate a lot of the congestion in the beginning and the end of the season. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Mr. John Dooley, please.
John Dooley, commercial fisherman. I also fish for Larry Furtado with my 2 boats. I was really excited when Steve concurred that spot that Larry applied for was not good for several reasons, the dock, this and that, because that's what the last general manager and harbor master said. That's why Larry applied for that spot, was approved for that spot, and the harbor master and the general manager said, no, we have to keep our derelict boats and our seized boats there, and that's the work dock. We need you to put the hoist on that side. And that's how it all got approved. There was a change in board members, and all of a sudden, they decided that Larry shouldn't have that hoist there. And so all I'm saying is that, and all the people that are here that have testified, that the people that work for Larry Furtado, he's hamstringed, he's way in the back. And when all those other buyers are doing business, you can't get through to unload your pots, you can't do. So that's the purpose of the hoist. And Jason here hit it right on the head. He says it'll relieve the congestion on the dock, and it will. And to approve that hoist where it is now is the right thing to do, because it doesn't belong on the other side. It belongs where it is now. And if it can relieve the congestion out there, that's where all the money's made for the harbor. And, you know, that's fish buying. And so until the dock is redone and did all the stuff that might happen in the next 20 years, we have to get by with what we have. And so that's why we're asking for you guys to approve the second hoist for Larry, so that the person, 3 captains, is not hamstringed. Thank you.
James Lee Hahn. Please state your name and affiliation.
Sure, James Lee Hahn from Redwood City. I would just ask the commission to support the numerous requests by the Half Moon Bay Seafood Marketing Association and to support the GM staff recommendation on this matter. Just as a recommendation, the hoist should go where it's always been, which is at the back of the Fish Buyers Building. I had a chance to look at the report earlier today. I was looking at it again. I agree with the concerns in the staff report, and I think staff did a great job on that report, and please support it. Thank you.
Larry Furtado. I don't know if this, I think this one was from Junior.
Lawrence Furtado Jr., commercial fisherman. I agree with Jason about the hoist, second hoist being there. It would help relieve tension. Sometimes they do get blocked up. Also, he would be willing to help other buyers, which would help them also relieve tension. I think your predecessors gave them the lease. I mean, they approved the spot for the hoist on the dock. With all the money that he's spent, I think he should at least, and he was never given a chance to try it, at least give him a year of trial to see if it does work or see if it doesn't work. You should at least do that with all that he's done. That would be the fair thing to do. If it does create congestion or whatever, it doesn't work, have him take it out. But you should at least get the chance to do that. Thank you.
Larry Furtado.
I don't have too much to say, but I already told Morningstar that he's welcome to use my hoist when we load crab pots, because he gets backed up too. And when we do squid, neither one of us can unload a boat. The other hoist would make it nice if we have salmon boats or whatever, crab. But we'll help the other guys too. But that's about all I can say. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Corrali had a comment.
So thanks for the report, Steve. I thought it was very interesting, and during the 10 months I've been on this board, I've heard from different people and Seafood Marketing Association and about the hoist and the placement of the hoist. My concern isn't even that as much as the perception that a governing body, public agency, might be seen as being totally inequitable to all of its business, to some business owners. The job, in my opinion, of a governing agency is to provide a level playing field for businesses so that they all have a chance to succeed. And the appearance even that this is not the case is troubling to me. And I have no skin in the game. I'm not a commercial fisherman. I'm not even in the industry. So I'm just looking at this from an equity standpoint. I know we're not here to talk about all of this report, which deals with Mr. McHenry's stuff, but I don't even feel like I have enough information right now, because I'd like to see the documentation for all of the commercial fisher, or the fish buyers, I guess. And I'd like, do we have documentation for the other hoists? Were the other hoists approved by the Coastal Commission? You know, I'm sure a lot of you are not going to agree with me, but again, the job of a public agency is to make sure that, in my opinion, that there's a level playing field. So, I'd be happy to hear what other commissioners have to say, because again, am no expert in this, so I'm only going by public comment, which I believe can be skewed. Either way, that's a fact. You're advocating for something. So, but again, I'm troubled by the fact that there's this appearance of inequity here.
I had another public comment come in. Carol and Paul, please go to the podium, state your name and your affiliation.
My name is Carolyn Falk. I'm CFO of Aquileo, a small California corporation, and I'm outraged by your decision after meeting you just 6 months ago to say no and be so against this when you have really very little knowledge or history on it. And if you go into the restaurant, I'm sitting there eating today going, wow, well, there's where the two hoists used to be. And then there's the hoist, and there's a crane on the Caitlin Ann. They all fit fine. Go ahead and look. Go into Catch Joanne, sit at the second table, and right on the wall is a beautiful picture showing how well this would work. We can't wait 2 years. The hoist, when I met you out there, Mr. McGrath, forgive me, please, for pointing all this out, that I wasn't very happy with you walking away from me when I asked you how old the hoist was, and it was 51, and I'm 51. And my daughter and my brother, my husband and myself, we used it all the time. It's old, it's inadequate. Going through there, if the guy doesn't remember to put the forklift down a little bit, things get caught in the doorway going through. It's very dangerous. You should be concerned about all of these things. I discussed that with you in person on that day, and I really think that waiting for 2 years for possibly getting to see a whole bunch of stuff get done on that other side where our boat can't go in there. And it's going to get shorter and shorter this way until you get this sand problem, restoration problem going. Outside is where these big boats can be. There's plenty of room. Go look at the picture. Thank you for your time. I appreciate your comments, really.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just a point of clarification, I believe, were you just speaking about the public hoist?
No, I'm talking about they invented a crane to assist a large boat that had just been built and needed some work done on it. And it's sitting right where Larry's hoist was and will be, I hope, for 2 years at least, or 1 year. Great idea. Thank you, Larry Jr.
There's a crane on the pier, is what you're
If
saying.
you look in that picture, you're going to see it beautifully, and there's a giant boat there, plenty of room for McHenry. 2 hoists that used to be there, there's no longer the second hoist for Larry. Yes, he deserves a second hoist. He deserves a hoist newer than 51.
So there's a crane on the pier right now? Is
No,
that
this
what
is
I'm-
No, she's
Yeah.
talking about the
Oh.
historical
Okay,
photograph.
thank
Look at
you.
a 50-year-old
Thank you, I got it.
Yes,
Thank you.
okay, thank you. And yes, I didn't appreciate your comments earlier, so I just want to let you know that. And I could talk to you later about that if you'd like, but thank you.
Commissioner Bernardo.
Thank you. I would like to say, understanding, having been part of the history of this from way back when this discussion first came up, first of all, I want to say, I've said this before, and I'm just going to reiterate what I've always felt. We as a district have to honor the leases and the agreements that we have with our tenants. And part of that, as explained in many discussions, is that where the hoist goes is between the leaseholder and the harbor master. And the leaseholder had an agreement with the previous harbor master who was here, who agreed to have the hoist, where the leaseholder wanted it to be. So the way I look at this is, we have to honor those agreements, and just because political dynamics change, people change, we have to honor those agreements. I am for having this additional hoist, as was discussed way back when. So, I have not faltered in the way I felt on this, so that's how I feel. So that's just my own opinion.
So I'd like to comment when it's my turn.
Commissioner Brennan.
So first of all, when the former harbor master approved the hoist in the location where there's part of it now, it was done on a 1-year trial basis. It wasn't a permanent approval. And there were many complaints about the location of that hoist, which we received, and we've gotten numerous letters from the Half Moon Bay Seafood Marketing Association outlining their safety concerns. They also have concerns about the fact that the hoist puts certain businesses at an economic disadvantage. Over time, what I've observed is that we've gotten a lot more complaints about the hoist than we have gotten support for the hoist location. And in hearing communication from the Coastal Commission, it's my understanding that the process wasn't followed by the applicant for the hoist. The person who went, Larry, who went to the harbor master and asked to have the hoist there. The building permits were not handled properly from what I was told, and we've talked about this in past meetings. There was not a application taken out for a coastal development permit. My understanding is that a group of fishermen from the Half Moon Bay Seafood Marketing Association went and met with the Coastal Commission staff and explained to the staff that they felt that the hoist location was a safety hazard, and it was also going to economically disadvantage their businesses and was a complete total lack of equity, and went so far as to say it was a backroom deal between the general manager at the time who influenced the harbor master, because Larry agreed to go along with fish buying fees that were quite high, and we just reduced those fees. So from what I've been told, there was a deal made, and I would call it a backroom deal, between the general manager and the leasee, where if the leasee went along with the outrageously high fish buying fees, then in reward for that, he would be given this premium location for a hoist. Now, this is speculation. This is what I've heard, and in fact, Larry has told me this himself, but I don't know. I wasn't there at the meeting with Peter Burnell. So here we are today. We've got a hoist location which has been deemed unsafe by the majority of commercial fishermen who use the pier. We've gotten multiple letters from the Half Moon Bay Seafood Marketing Association outlining their safety concerns and their concerns about economic inequity. And our new general manager has spent months and months and months reviewing this and looking at it every which way I think he possibly can. And he's come to the conclusion that the location where the hoist was originally proposed and the location that Larry's chose for a secondary location are not safe locations. So we can't put the hoist in an unsafe place. We have to have the hoist located in a safe place. So the hoist, in my opinion, should go where it's always been, which is the back of the building. And there's plenty of access there for boats. It is not an economic hardship. It's where the hoist has been for decades. And everybody can have their space exactly like it's always been, and we can go back to business as usual. That's what I would like to see happen until we can renovate the pier and come up with a completely new system for how we're gonna manage hoists. And believe me, I would love to see that happen. I'd love to see us make a major renovation of the pier and come up with a completely different system. Maybe the harbor district owns the hoists, and the hoists move up and down the pier on a track, and everybody can use the hoist. I mean, that's how they do it at some other harbors. And I think, as time permits, and as we are able to financially to make those changes, we could make some major upgrades and improve the situation. But as it is now, you can't make everybody happy. And the majority of people that I've heard from as a commissioner have told me that they feel that it's a safety hazard, both of these two locations, and I see it. You can walk out there and watch these semi-trucks, and it's obvious from the naked eye that there is not room for all of this activity right where people have to make the corner. It's not safe. I've almost been run over by a forklift before myself. I mean, you've got to be really careful when you're out there, and we're inviting the general public onto this pier. This is not a pier that's closed to the general public. It's wide open. So we've really got to think about these safety concerns. Tom, you look like you want to say something.
Have you,
Could I
gentlemen?
President, could I jump in for half a second?
Sure.
Would you mind? I would just like to make it clear to the commission that what is before you is a request from the applicant, Furtado, Three Captains, and a staff report from your general manager that is focused on a specific location, a request for a specific location.
Right.
There has now been lots of discussion about the appropriateness of a location that existed now 2 years ago. But the factual record in your report is all focused, and any determination you make on this request should be similarly focused on the factual basis for the request that Mr. Furtado is now making. So I just would want to make sure that your attention is focused on the record regarding that request.
Which is a location different from where the hoist is currently.
That
just
is
to be
correct.
clear. Okay. So I move that we adopt resolution 32-16, finding that the proposed location for Three Captains' second hoist is inappropriate and directing the general manager to deny the request for the second hoist in the requested location.
Mr. Paravana, did you have something to say?
I do, but I'm waiting for, see somebody seconds it.
There's no second, so the motion fails.
Commissioner Paravano.
Thank you, Mr. President. Having heard the public comment this evening by people that walk the talk, that are there every single day, 24 hours a day, 365 days of the year, it is obvious that we as a district are restricting the business and commerce of one of our lessees. And to me, that is a very severe violation of due process. The idea that we are not able to find a compatible solution to an issue that benefits all of us as a community, as a district, and puts the district, makes it a larger spot on the coast for doing what we are known as good as we can get. What we're doing here tonight, we are stymieing growth. We are stymieing business. We're stymieing a lot of opportunity that is in front of us. We're going against a trend. The trend in commercial fishing that it is an occupation and industry that is going downhill. You look at the end of our pier, you look at our docks, it's something that is growing, something that is it's vivacious, it's lively. And for us to say, no, you cannot have something that is allowed for and permitted for in your lease is a real violation. I feel very bad that the first location that the applicant submitted was denied. And I still question the process on how that was denied. But now he is trying to bring in front of us another location, because he sees this as an opportunity for himself, for his family, for the employers, and most importantly, for the district in general. So we need to move forward, encompassing the public comment, encompassing safety, encompassing rational policies that allow for growth and for a compatible solution. And I can't believe that we can't find one.
I'd like to comment on
we are in the middle of a really strong growth pattern. And it's a good thing that we can see that. This is our community. To hear that fishermen have to go through a tunnel to unload or load their crab traps is absolutely a severe hardship. It prevents, it stalls any fisherman from going out and laying their traps on the grounds in a very efficient manner. All you gotta do is go out there and see and feel the emotions that run very high at the beginning of the crab season. Trying to get their boats loaded up. All of a sudden, something slips, crab traps fall. The cable comes off the hoist. There's a lot of things that go south on fishermen, but you deal with it. The idea that we are trying to eliminate any type of pitfalls for fishermen to do what they're good at is something that we really have to keep close to our hearts. Those are my comments.
I guess my biggest concern is trying to balance part of the staff report about the worn out pilings, the dock, where they stash their boats. And have you been in touch with three captains to say, here's when repairs are gonna start, here's where repairs are gonna end, and when this would potentially, I don't need an answer now. Just, does Mr. Furtado have an idea of when this is possible to look forward to? I mean, judging by the safety things that you've expressed, it doesn't sound like this is the time to do it. But how do you put this on the front burner and say, you deserve this chance, we just can't offer you something on a dilapidated, broken down pier right now? So that's just, fill out a card.
I'd like to comment when you're done.
I'm very surprised you have another comment to make on this topic, because you took a lot of time on that one. So if you can make it brief, fine. If you can't, we have to move on.
So, I'd just like to remind everybody that if the board decides that they want to allow Larry to move his hoist across the way, literally, almost exactly the identical location where it is now, but just across here from where it is now, he's still gonna have to get a coastal development permit. So this is not something that's going to happen overnight. And to go through the CDP process, which Larry tried to do once before with the current location, it's very likely that the exact same thing is gonna happen that we already experienced. And the fishermen and the Half Moon Bay Seafood Marketing Association are probably going to
That's fine.
talk to the Coastal Commission staff and ask them not to allow this hoist because of their safety concerns and because of the economic disadvantage that they say it brings their businesses. So that'll be their problem to deal with. So essentially, we would be kicking the can down the road. But I want to make it clear to the public that there's nothing we can do about that process. It's going to go to the Coastal Commission if the hoist moves to a place where it's not supported by the fishermen. So, you know, either we can put the hoist somewhere where everybody agrees is a great location, and then Larry can move forward with having a productive business, or we can keep fighting it out either at the Harbor District level or at the Coastal Commission level. To me,
Commissioner
this-
Brennan, we hear you loud and strong.
Okay, good.
Mr. Furtado?
Well, this new spot where I picked there is, me and Mr. McGraw went over it, and he's worried about the pilings. Well, at one time you had 7 or 8 boats against those pilings, and I told him I would put a camel on that, would take care of that little problem. And then when you guys said, I think you're supposed to put new pilings in there anyhow, when the time comes, you put them in. But you had 7 or 8 workless boats there. I'm sure they'll hold one little boat for unloading and loading. And as far as the Coastal Commission, everything was fine until you went with the association, one member of the association, and then I had to go through the, but, no, okay. Anyhow, I think that he knows we talked about how it can work. I'd rather have the spot across be better, but this side, we no traffic problem because we each have 33-foot And if Morningstar would be so kind to change spots with me, there'd be no problem. And like I said, I already let him use my hoist with no charge for crab pots, because it ain't gonna be used that much. So we'll work together on it. Thank you.
A question for Steve.
Okay, I've got a last question here.
So Steve and Steve Miller, I appreciate that this is a very focused issue, but again, my problem is inequity. And I actually am wondering, can we, and maybe this is another agenda item, see the documentation for the other two? Coastal Command, I want to know, I don't know the process like Commissioner Brennan does, but I do want to see the documentation. Coastal Commission approval for Mr. McHenry and is it Pillar, Mr. Mallory, yeah. I mean, they should all be treated fairly. So, I know this is a more focused item, and I'm not going to support this motion. And I'll call for the question and make the motion, unless we don't need to, because there was a lack of a second for the other one. But I don't know. What do we need to do, Steve Miller? There was a lack of a second for the original.
You had a motion with lack of a second, so that motion failed.
Great. So that means...
That means you could move on to the next item. It means you could continue to discuss. You could give direction to your general manager regarding discussions over other locations. You could grant whatever approvals tonight you want to grant or not. I mean,
well, if the motion fails, though, Steve, if the motion fails, does that mean that 3 Captains gets to put the hoist in that location?
No.
No.
Okay.
Mr. Bernardo.
Thank you. That's a segue to my question. What would I be able to make a motion to move this forward so that 3 Captain Seafood can have the additional hoist in the new location that they're requesting? Can I do that?
Yes.
Okay. I would like to make a motion that 3 Captain Seafood be granted their additional hoist in the new location.
I'll second.
Okay.
Roll call.
Commissioner Bernardo?
Aye.
Commissioner Brennan? No. Commissioner Chang Farley?
Aye.
Commissioner Paravano?
Aye.
President Mateusz?
Abstain. So what is our vote here? What just happened?
3 ayes, 1 nay, and 1 abstention.
So explain what that means.
Means the motion
That
carries.
means, yes, Robert's motion passed.
The hoist goes in the new place, and who's going to repair the pilings and when, and then what are you going to do with your docks and the place where you store your boats?
So I would leave that to the general manager to speak to the lessee about, since you're probably in the best position to understand the situation.
So the process from here, we would develop a complete project description.
As we look at John Moran.
We would make a plan for replacement, removal of the dock, try to figure out another place to, right,
No, we don't have,
right.
no, but I'm just saying,
There's a number of significant steps to go through.
We look forward to your following report.
There
Yes.
has to be a CDP.
And then there will be a CDP application as a part of the process.
and I would like to talk to you later about putting an agenda item on the November agenda about getting documentation for the other 2
All right,
parties.
item 16, Half Moon Bay Yacht Club Dock Expansion and Pier Project. Staff report, please.
All right. Staff's requesting direction on the Half Moon Bay Yacht Club's request to move forward with the permitting process and regulatory agencies for the proposed dock expansion and pier project. We've given you a revised staff report, other than is in your regular binder. There was one on everyone's table. I'd also like to point out another difference in item number 2 here under recommendation of motion. That had changed to district will engage the environmental consultant to be utilized. So the staff right now is requesting direction from the board on the request that Half Moon Bay Yacht Club has made to staff regarding the board, staff presenting to the board and requesting the board to support their project. And the project being is described, the project is described in the accompanying documentation. They are asking that they currently have a floating structure right out in front of the Half Moon Bay Yacht Club at present. This historic structure has been used in the past for staging vessels during the youth sailing regattas. However, its use is limited because of the platform is only accessible by boat. Half Moon Bay Yacht Club now is proposing this project in order to create a floating platform that will be available for the public community for recreation and marine activities. The location of the proposed pier and floating dock would enhance existing waterfront activities in Princeton. It would add safe public access to the beach along with a walkway that would be compliant under the Americans with Disabilities Act, which would also provide access to water-based activities for disabled persons. There will be 2 ramps that are proposed to be constructed to allow public and ADA access to the beach for one ramp and access to the dock from the other. One ramp will be 6 foot by 30 foot and will extend from one pier to the beach. A 103 foot by 12 foot access pier will extend from the west corner of the yacht club property adjacent to Vassar Avenue and cross the beach with a minimum of 10-foot clearance. The overall footprint of the proposed dock and floating pier will be approximately 14,000 square feet. I've attached the exhibits there, but we've also got, I'd like to introduce Kelly Pike, who's a representative with the Half Moon Bay Yacht Club, and he's got a short presentation to better familiarize yourselves with it.
And before we go to the presentation, if I may jump in, thank you, John, and excuse me, Kelly. There's been some discussion I've heard about the process and the district's role in that process. And what the request of the commission is this evening is this a project worth pursuing prior? The majority of the project is in the state titles granted waters owned by the district, subject to the Tidelands grant from the State Lands Commission. As such, we've got certain roles and responsibilities in development on those waters. And for the project to move forward, there are certain steps that need to go through. One would be, is this something that this board at this very early stage recognizes as a project that they could see happening on district property? And if so, then we would, that basically gives the yacht club the go-ahead to start developing the plans, the environmental determinations, and the coastal development permit application. As we are an independent special district and public agency with authority over those state tidelands, we do have the position where we can take the lead role for purposes of the California Environmental Quality Act and environmental determination, whether that's a waiver, a negative declaration, mitigated negative declaration, or even an environmental impact report. Then, at the appropriate point, the environmental documents will be either adopted or certified, depending upon the type of document, and the district at that point could issue a use permit for the project. At that point, now the yacht club would have the requisite approvals to support an application to the Coastal Commission for a coastal development permit. A portion of the project is located on land. Some of it is in the paper street, and so an encroachment permit would be needed. That would come from Public Works. So from a planning perspective, county planning has talked to Coastal Commission, and they're doing what's called consolidated processing. Rather than asking the yacht club to apply for a coastal development permit for the Coastal Commission for that portion of the project in Coastal Commission's primary jurisdiction, and a separate planning approval for that portion of the project in county jurisdiction, the two agencies have agreed that the Coastal Commission shall manage the permit approval process for the coastal development permit. It's premature at this point, and probably unwise to talk in this staff report about who gets to do the building permit. Those portions that are in our jurisdiction, the majority of it in our jurisdiction, portions in the county's jurisdiction. And when we get to that point, certainly we can talk about a consolidated process for approval of any building permits. But does the commission think this is worth the yacht club expending the resources to move forward in the application process?
I have a technical.
And if so, then it will come back to us for adoption of those documents, and then it will go on to Coastal Commission for a coastal development permit. Yes, Commissioner Brown.
Yeah, I have a couple of just technical or quick follow-up on what you said, just trying to get clarified on a few things. So has this project gone through the design review process yet?
No.
Okay. Has this project applied for a planning permit yet?
No.
Has this project applied for a CDP yet?
No.
Okay. So there's no planning, permitting happening at this time?
No, this would be the first step in that process.
And if, from what you just said, you said that you're proposing that the Harbor District issue some sort of a pre-approval building permit? Is that what you're calling it? You
No,
told me
I'm-
today that you
no,
had a
I'm-
stamp
that-
where you stamp things.
Let's step way back from any building permit approvals. That we've got to go through all the planning and the environmental review, coastal development permit before we get to that part.
So basically what you're saying is today we're going to look at an informational report, so we learn a little bit about the project, and then it's going to come back to us later after it's gone through the design review and the planning process and got the CDP going.
There will be plenty of opportunities for you to see this as it marches through the process. This thing this evening, before the yacht club expends significant resources on the development of all those documents, is does this commission see a fatal flaw, or does this commission, support generally the idea, and is it, do you approve the idea that this projects begin the process, so that we can not have the applicant spend a bunch of time, money, and resources getting a project that we don't like from the get-go.
So I guess the questions I have would be, how would I know anything about the project without being able to review what happens in design review and the planning permit and the planning commission meeting and all the different things that have to happen with the county and the coastal commission, without having any information about any of those things and the issues that come up that are looked at by those agencies? It would be very difficult. Like, how would I know if the project was safe in a tsunami? Or how would I know if the project was going to block access for sand replenishment? There are just so many questions.
Of course.
Like,
And
how would I possibly know? So
those all get developed and answered during the project description development, through environmental review. All of that happens, but it would, somebody's got to be on first, and
we've never been asked to do this before, so I'm just
Okay.
curious, where is there a precedent of the Harbor
I
District
think
doing
I
this?
think that I don't know whether there's a precedent for this board.
Is this like a
doing this.
pre-approval process you're doing, or what are you calling this? And is there an application? Did the person with the whatever they are, foundation with the project, come to us with an application to apply for this approval that you want us to give?
We have not developed a formal application process for this. But this is the process that I, with the experience I have working in this sort of land-sea interface.
So basically, we're not approving anything tonight, we're getting the go-ahead to even to start to look at things and letting the yacht club take step one.
Yes.
So this is
So
not
there's nothing
committal
to do.
to anything.
There's
Yes.
nothing to do?
Yes, there is.
Okay. We're just gonna learn about it. Can we see the presentation?
Yes, absolutely. If you would take the paper off the front of the projector there, thank you very much.
Being very productive.
And I'll keep my eyes on you, and you tell me when to.
Okay.
Whoa, little dark. There we go.
This is
That's good. We can see it. Nope,
No,
it's good.
no, there we go. There we go.
I'm Kelly Pike with the Half Moon Bay Yacht Club, and I'm Vice President of the HNBYC Foundation. We started this process 3 years ago with a different board and a different general manager. And from that point, we had a positive input to move forward. We're moving forward, and now we're in the process of looping back through agencies who haven't seen this. We've already been to the Coastal Commission and to the county. They both gave us a go-ahead, it looks okay to us. We have to now get into the details. So next on that list after MCC was to loop back through here. That's why I'm here. Go ahead, next slide. I'll just start with the reveal first. This is the easy part. We have a pier that's going to go across the beach, out to a gangway, out to a large floating dock. The basic reason for having a large floating dock is this is for water activities, disabled sailing, adaptive sailing. We want to be very close to the water and minimize the visual impact of this as compared to Romeo Pier. On the shore side, over here, we have two ramps, one from Vassar up to the pier because the pier needs to be 10 feet high. Vassar is 8 feet high, so you have to go uphill to get onto the pier. And then from the pier down to the beach is another ramp. So that's, and with a structure in here and structures out here, and this whole section is public access. This outer portion is a transit dock wave attenuator, and it would have some restricted access because the yacht club will have some of its equipment out there as well as the transit boats that would be staying there, and you need to give them a certain amount of restricted access. Next slide. I need to stand close to this so we get yeah, okay. So as Steve described, it's a 103-foot pier with ADA access, two ramps coming up to it, also down to the beach. And we kind of call this area in the shallow water where we have the public access and is a water walk. So it allows the public to go out and they can spend time out on the dock area, and we have two pavilions that they can go out and stay in as well. I'll just side note, one of the reasons we're doing this is in the 25 years I've been here with the yacht club, we've seen an increasing amount of traffic on Vassar getting to the water, and it's just getting greater and greater and greater. And as the Plan Princeton program came up, we became very involved in that because we could see you needed a parking answer as well as just to try and control the chaos that we can see coming. So when we envisioned trying to do this project, we saw it really dovetailing in with what Plan Princeton was doing. Unfortunately, Plan Princeton stops on the bluff. So all of this that we're talking about out here, they couldn't actually deal with. And we said, that's fine. But it's the parking, and we're waiting for them to come forward with what they want to do with the parking on Vassar and Princeton.
And my understanding is that Plan Princeton, they have not finished the shoreline portion of their project yet, of their planning project yet. That's what I've been told, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And they've seen all of this, so we were trying to get it dovetailed and get it out there, so at least it would
Was
be.
it summer you were dealing with?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, next slide.
Also, adding in Regatta Center, we have a huge increase in the amount of youth sailing we're having on the, in the west end of Pillar Point Harbor. It's turned out to be very, very popular. The yacht club still needs a little of this access. It only needs the deep water end of this. It doesn't need the shallow end. And the transit dock, you know, transit docks can be reimbursed by the state of California through the Department of Boat and Waterways to 80%. And so our original plan is to get their approval. They pay for the project after it's done, up to 80%. And so a transit dock that also does wave attenuation is within their scope.
Have you talked to them yet?
Yes, I talked to them 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, and the first thing they said is, Coastal Commission seen this?
Yeah.
So now I get to go back and say, yes, they have, and I have a nice email here from Renee that tells us, go ahead and start to pursue it.
Could we get that? email?
Okay.
Thank you.
Next slide. So currently, HMBYC today, we have this footprint on Princeton and Vassar, and the floating docks out in front. This is Romeo Pier. Next slide. The proposal is to drop on top of that floating docks that we have now. They start at 200 feet off the shore out to 400 feet. So that 200 feet, that 200 feet is right there, the 400 feet is right there. So we're still in that same footprint. So the yacht club is over here. You've heard of Ocean Boulevard, which is the paper road. And the Half Moon Bay Yacht Club happens to also have deed to the property on the other side of Ocean. So to make this project happen, with access on Vassar and across this, the yacht club has basically got its foot in all three spots. That's kind of hard to do. But as a result of that, we thought we would be a good focal point to try and push this along, because we are at the intersection of all of these responsibilities.
And is it open, it's 24 hours a day open?
24/7. Yeah. The security of the yacht club property is the yacht club's problem, but we realize that they have a transit dock on the outside and they have the public access. You can't be putting up fences and doors and things like that. Also, the ADA access right here off of Vassar is necessary because the yacht club wants to become involved in adaptive sailing. And to do that, we need to get people off of Vassar and out to here. And the only way to do that is to make as low as possible and as shallow a slope as possible, so we can get the people out to here to the facilities that can then put them in and out of boats.
What will happen to the riprap that's there now? Would that change at all?
It would have to be replaced.
With what?
I will let the design process and the engineers work that one out.
So are you guys doing, are you doing engineering drawings next?
We have had engineering drawings done as a preliminary, but I know that as we get into it, there are many options on how to do it, and so you have to, once you get to that point of the process, you say, how do you want to approach this? You know, do you want to put it in gravel? Do you want to put it in concrete plate? How do you want to do it? You'll see a little bit later how that whole issue of what to do with the bluff and what to do with how the ADA goes down, it's all integrated, so we need a good solution for that. Next slide. Speaking of the engineering drawings, we took our original ideas and had Noble Consultants, a marine construction company, turn it into what is actually practical for what we're doing. And they came up with the drawings, and they said this is actually a fairly simple pier with a gangway out to your docks, and then your access off of Vassar, and then from the pier down, and then switch back down to the beach. We've gone out and done a survey of the beach and the front of the yacht club so that we know what the elevations were. Next picture. There's been some discussion about wave attenuators. This is an example from Bellingham Marine that they installed in New Zealand. This particular device is floating, and it's designed to attenuate 3-foot waves, which is approximately the same size waves we get during storms on the east side from the yacht club when we have a southern storm. And you can also see it's curved. These run between $2,000 to $4,000 a foot to construct, and we figure we're going to have about a 250-foot long dock here. They've been building things like this for 30, 40 years, so it's very well-known technology. I just talked to them the other day about tsunamis, and they said, well, tell me how big the tsunami is, I'll tell you what we're going to design. He said, in Half Moon Bay, how much of Half Moon Bay is going to be left? You know, if a huge tsunami comes in. And that's something in the design process we have to work out of what level of protection is reasonable. And if it turns out you can't resolve that and something will flaw, then you walk away. Next slide. So these are taking the design and putting it into pictures of the area. So here's the Half Moon Bay Yacht Club and the pier running out. The idea is to have as minimal of visual impact as possible. And what you notice, this is if you're my height, 6 foot, you can see that it tends to disappear right into the noise in the background. It doesn't have a large visual impact, as well as there's 10 foot of clearance in here so that in the future, if they're doing beach replenishment, the equipment can get underneath the pier. It's kind of a choice between how high do you make it, because then your ramp from Vassar has to go up higher, and low enough that the equipment can still get underneath. So 10 foot was what was recommended to us.
So no problem with any sand replenishment that needs to happen or addressing of erosion related to sea rise or any of that? Like,
yeah,
that's all stuff that's going to get addressed.
Yeah, and that's through the Noble Consultants. We asked that question. They said, here's where I would start. As you get into the process, you'll get more detailed information, and people are going to move it up and down depending on things. But you've got, right now, this is quite feasible for doing your beach replenishment and having that margin for sea level rise. Next picture. So you asked the question about the riprap. Since the riprap is also in Ocean Boulevard, you can see the ramp from Vassar coming up. It doesn't really have a problem, but the one going down is going to be on the riprap. And the reason it ends up on the riprap is you have to terminate this at the mean high tide line or lower. Well, that's where the mean high tide line is. So we're going to be somewhere here and going out, which means the riprap in there will have to be mitigated, and you'll have another structure for the support. Okay. Next picture. As you come down Vassar, what you'll see is the ADA access is out on Vassar, so people can pull up, get out of their car, and be able to get that access. The yacht club, on the yacht club side, there's a steeper ramp that you wouldn't be able to use as an ADA, but it allows us to move equipment easily on and off for other options, or you can walk across it. Next picture. Yes, that was it. We appreciate the opportunity to come before the board and show you the project, and hope we can get support, because everybody I've talked to in this process, when I start talking about money and permits, they all want to know, has the county looked at this? Are they okay with it? Has the district looked at this? Are they okay with it? Is the Coastal Commission looked at it? And so I'm just gathering my, yes, they've looked at it and they don't have any issues yet.
So, Kelly, what is the next step? Are you planning to apply for, for a permit with the planning commission? Or are you going to take out a permit with the county? Or are you going right for a CEP application? I mean, what are your next steps?
That's a real good question. Talking with the Coastal Commission, they directed us to get your county paperwork together, copy us on everything you do, continue along, and then come to us after you get set up. They were quite happy with what we were planning on doing. They also said you have to meet with all the stakeholders and resolve and mitigate their issues. So part of getting those issues resolved is having the application in, and that tells people that, well, if the county has taken your application, then you're on your way. And now people get serious, and you then start working the process in. I just learned tonight that as opposed to working directly with the county, I may end up working here with the district, which would be fine with us being local.
Well, we don't issue planning permits, so I don't know how we would offer you that. Stephen Miller?
I think we're early days for that. I don't think anyone's asking this board to approve the project or apply or provide any permits of any kind.
I think that it's just, we do have 2 public comments, but it sounds to me like we just have to say, go ahead and look at it. And the project looks absolutely monumental.
In a
Looks
good way or a
amazing.
bad way?
Well, we're talking about having trouble rebuilding a small piece of our pier, and this is gonna be a whole lot of new stuff.
It looks very expensive, Kelly. How much money have you guys raised?
We haven't raised any money for it yet.
So we might not have to worry about it at all.
Yeah, basic reason for that.
Anyway, I've got a couple public comments, so let me move right along. James Hahn.
James? I have this written. Do you want me to pass this out?
Oh, sure, that's fine.
James also submitted.
I submitted the letter that you're getting handed out to you already, so I'm not going to really go over that too much. I just want to bring up a few things I was thinking about during the presentation. First of all, I appreciate that this is an informational item. On the agenda, it did said approve the project, so I was a little concerned about the process, but hearing that it's informational, that's great to hear. I'm really excited about the ADA access in particular. The Harbor District needs some sort of accommodations for folks with disabilities, and I'm really excited that that's part of this. And I hope that if this project moves forward, that the Harbor District will work with the Yacht Club as fiercely as possible to make sure that the entire county knows that this access is available. Because having the access there is great, but without informing the public, it's not going to be used. I did have some concerns about the wave attenuator. I just took 1 semester of ocean physics, so I may be totally off base, but I'm a little concerned about what the attenuator would do with, obviously the breakwater itself has absorbed most of the wave energy, but I'm a little concerned with what this breakwater would do with regards to the wave currents within the harbor, with shoaling, and what it would do to the beach kind of directly behind it or a little bit downstream. So hopefully commissioners will think about that as this project moves forward. Also, just real quick, to echo real quickly just a point I made in my letter, I'm a little concerned about this district taking on the lead role for CEQA. It's my understanding, with all due respect to your counsel, that your counsel is not a CEQA attorney, and it's my understanding that when applicants come before you, that they would be directed to bring their own consultants along. But I would just remind the board that when applicants bring their own consultants to bear, they're looking at CEQA consultants who will do everything they can to interpret CEQA in the way that is best for the applicant. So I would highly recommend making sure that there is some independence to the process for this and for future projects. Thanks.
We had a comment from Brian Rogers. This is topic.
And I do apologize, I put the wrong number on there. I was a little confused at where we were on the agenda. Yeah, I think this is a great idea. The access to boating for everyone is always encouraged. And it seems to me that all they're asking for is some support. They're not asking you to rubber stamp it and say, thanks, build it tomorrow. They're asking you just not to go to the Coastal Commission and scream up and down that this can't happen. And that's, kind of a history here. So hopefully, you can give them your support and they can start moving this project along. Because, like you said, raising the money is going to be a long haul. Getting this built, getting it all approved, we're talking years out. So, thank you.
Any more commission comments, or is there a motion to recommend?
I have a few comments, or questions, actually. So, I'm really interested to see the sea level rise documentation that's produced once this project actually becomes a project and is in front of the planning department at the county level, and then also the Coastal Commission, because I think that's going to be helpful to understand what the impacts of sea level rise in that location are. And honestly, I don't know, except that the whole area is expected to go underwater at some point, but obviously that doesn't mean we need to stop everything there. It's just, are there ways of addressing it that might be beneficial or creative? So those are things that would be interesting to me. And then more information about how sand replenishment could work there, I think would be helpful. The wave attenuator segment of the project, proposed project, and the little buildings on the docks. I kind of wonder about how that's going to work out as it moves through a county and coastal commission planning process, especially with regard to concerns about tsunami inundation. And I mean, we know about the tsunamis that hit that location in the past and how high up the waves were at the top of Romeo Pier. We've got photos of that. So, you know, that's something that I guess everybody that does any development in Princeton has to think about. But, you know, the wave attenuators at Oyster Point Marina haven't really worked. So I'm wondering if maybe we could get more information about how, if there's some new technology or better way to build wave attenuators that might be more effective, especially given this is an ocean environment, not a bay environment. So those things would be interesting. I'd really like to read the email from the Coastal Commission from Renee, where they are, it sounds like from what Kelly said, they're giving it, they're suggesting that it's a project that they think is ready to go to planning. So I'd like to know more about where they're at with it. I think that would help us understand more about the process, I guess. But I also, oh, and one thing I wanted to mention, on our website for years it said, somebody emailed me this, progress on the Princeton Shoreline Erosion Control and Public Access. This project is on hold pending determination of who will take lead agency responsibility. The Harbor District cannot do so because the project area is outside of its jurisdiction. So I guess I want to know more about the jurisdictional responsibilities and what part of the building and, well, planning and building and design review the county is responsible for specifically, and exactly what part the Harbor District is responsible for. And maybe we could get like a bullet point breakdown or a map would be even better, because you can't build the project just in water. It has to connect to land, and the land connection is sort of the more complicated part of the project. So I guess I'd like to know more about that, and then coastal access, any more information we could get on how this would be safe and still open to the public. Because I think there are some safety concerns on a number of different fronts, and I think all of this stuff will get addressed when it's looked at by the county and by the Coastal Commission. And those two agencies are way better staffed and experienced at looking at complicated coastal projects than we are. So I'm really looking to them to ask all the right questions before I can really make any sort of, or have a well-educated opinion. At this point, I just don't know enough about this project, but I want to learn more. And I know I've certainly enjoyed using the floating docks that are currently at the yacht club. So, you know, I think that it's a tricky project, and, you know, I'd like to be informed as it develops. So maybe it could come back to us with an update once it gets into the actual permit process.
The whole concept here is Half Moon Bay requesting from us, requesting from the board, their support so that they can move forward with their funding efforts and permitting.
But how, I don't understand that, because we can't approve this project.
That's what was a little bit challenging in writing a resolution for the board to make a formal decision of support for just, not approval of the project, just support of the concept, so that they can then move forward with potential CEQA and permitting.
Could we remain neutral so that we can get more information about the project?
that's the request, Half Moon Bay Yacht Club's request is formal support, so that would assist their efforts.
Well, I just feel that it would not be appropriate for me to weigh in until I have more information. The rest of the board can do whatever they want, but I want to stay neutral until I have more information to assess the project with. And I'm also not a planning commissioner, and I really look to the county planning commission and the county's planning staff and the coastal commission's planning staff to look at these projects closely and ask the right questions. I wouldn't even know the right questions to ask. We haven't been shown any engineering drawings. We've not been provided with enough information.
It is just at the concept level, as Kelly said.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to it, but I want to remain neutral until there's more info.
Commissioner Corrali.
Just thank you so much for the presentation. I thought it is good, and I appreciate the staff report, John. So, and I understand why you would want support so that you can figure out how you want to move forward. So I'll call for the question and make a motion that the Harbor District show to show support for the project for the Half Moon Bay Yacht Club's project, dock expansion project, and pier project.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. It's just.
We compiled the resolution.
Yeah, so it just basically 2916, 2916.
It edited it some, so.
Yeah, because we just
the
got.
The resolution in your project is not accurate for what this presentation has been. If there is interest in the board in showing support, I would suggest that you adopt a resolution, and I was scribbling furiously while he was speaking, so if you want, I can read what I scribbled, which was, and I think it's important to emphasize that you are not granting any approvals of any sort at this point. So here's what I wrote, and you tell me if this...
So just to clarify that if there's something in the approval process that we're not happy with, that we don't have to necessarily approve a final project, right?
You are not anything close to approving
Right, I know,
anything.
I just want to make that clear that it's okay.
So the resolution that I would suggest reflect what I understand to have just heard. Whereas the Half Moon Bay Yacht Club has requested district support and or involvement in its proposed dock expansion project, and whereas details of the project are as set forth in the accompanying staff report and the presentation made by the Half Moon Bay Yacht Club, and whereas the district is willing at this early stage to entertain an application for this project from the Half Moon Bay Yacht Club, now therefore may it be resolved that the San Mateo County Harbor District Board of Harbor Commissioners supports the Half Moon Bay Yacht Club moving forward with activities related to the permitting process with regulatory agencies for the dock expansion and pier project.
I just have a point of clarification. Is there any reason why this resolution, I mean, who's requiring that we approve this resolution for the permitting to move forward?
As far as I know, nobody.
Okay, all right, so this is.
Your staff has brought this forward to you, asking you to.
But there's no
legal requirement.
Legal requirement, or there's no permitting agency that needs it.
Binding.
Right.
Got it.
So I would entertain adopting that as rewritten, respoken. Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call. Or wait a minute, you had a comment.
Just really quickly, about the project, thank you so much for the presentation. As someone who is a former planning commissioner in South San Francisco, I'm really excited about this because public access improvements are projects that are always important. So whatever we want to call this, it's an endorsement of the project, whatever, I totally support this. So, sorry, back to the roll call.
Roll call.
Commissioner Bernard?
Aye.
Commissioner Brennan? Abstain. Commissioner Giancarlo?
Aye.
Commissioner Caravano?
Aye.
President Mateusz?
Aye. I had a request before we go on to item 19 for 5 minutes of break.
One point of note, Giants win 3-0.
Yay! Thanks, Brian.
That's awesome.
In the ninth inning, they scored.
Yeah, I scored 3.
Clearly not.
Yeah.
people
board
who
meeting
go
and
to
tie
that
back
say
in.
first location, but standing in the application.
Keep us
The
posted.
idea is,
Oh, yeah. That is so, thank you.
it seems like there's room there.
On that last page of the slideshow, you gotta put a U on
Going
it.
back to,
Find our council and general
they're
manager.
outside talking. So are we going back to item 1?
No, we've got 19.
Oh, okay.
All right, item, well, let's call these guys in. Item 19, concerns about employee claims and excessive settlements. Commissioner Brennan, informational item only.
So I pretty well covered this in my letter in the Half Moon Bay Review today. And so this is a letter that I wrote to the editor, but I also wrote to the board, titled, Harbor District Shouldn't Be ATM for Ex-Employees. When I was elected 4 years ago, I ran on a platform of bringing change to the entrenched and corrupt practices of the Harbor District and past Board of Commissioners. Not surprisingly, there was resistance, a great deal of it. Today, the district is cleaning up old business, and those responsible for inefficiency, favoritism, and waste have moved on. I'm very pleased that the work I began 4 years ago has been effective. A new board, new staff, and stakeholders have successfully swept out the old regime and brought stability and peace to the district. But we're not done yet. At a public meeting in 2013 about our annual audit, I asked our finance director if she was a certified public accountant. As it turns out, she was not a CPA, and she reacted to my question with a trumped-up complaint against the district. She claimed my question was inappropriate. Attorneys representing the district rewarded her by recommending the board settle the complaint for $300,000, which the board approved. I did not support this award because I did not believe it was in the best interest of the district or the people we serve. Now, one of the final legacies of the old regime, a former harbor master, left the district to take a new job in San Francisco. He then hired the finance director's attorney. He claims that he's entitled to the position of general manager. He's provided no evidence about who promised him this promotion or when the alleged promise was made. Harbor commissioners are elected to set policies that reduce waste and inefficiencies. Handing out excessive settlements to anyone who leaves the district in a huff is a dereliction of duty. I encourage my fellow board members to take a look at the precedent set by the last settlement. Doing the same thing twice will set the stage for a never-ending rinse and repeat cycle of claims against the district. In the last 4 years, the district has emerged from the dark ages. What we must do now is to cease handing out settlements of several $100,000 each. Attorneys should not be allowed to use the district as an ATM. I sincerely hope my fellow commissioners will consider these concerns as they work through the past harbor master's claims. We are elected to protect the public's interest and the public's money. Thank you.
Brian Rogers, public comment on item 19.
Yeah, I'm surprised because what I saw online just said there was going to be a report, but it wasn't there. I was expecting to see one to read here before the meeting. It wasn't there either. So now we just get a repeat of the article in the paper today, which was another attempt by one commissioner to rewrite history in their own view. Does anybody believe that all she asked was, are you a CPA, and that the board approved a $300,000 settlement for that? Clearly that's an oversimplification to an extreme. No, she didn't just ask, are you a CPA? She aggressively attacked the woman. I know, I was there. I watched it. I was horrified by what I saw. I was disgusted. That is not something that should happen in a public meeting. It's not something that should even happen in a private meeting with an employee. That's just inappropriate behavior no matter how you do it. The idea that you can come in and present a report and make it part of fact. Again, this has come up 2 or 3 times in the past. You need to stop this. This is equally inappropriate. You can't just rewrite history because you don't like what you did in the past. You know, the article in the Post the other day had a perfect quote from her. I don't think I did it, but if I did, it wasn't inappropriate. She will never change her behavior if she won't acknowledge that she's doing it. It is inappropriate behavior that she truly believes is acceptable. And I don't know how you fix it, but you got to do something or it's going to continue to cost the county money. And that's unreasonable to the taxpayer. They should be spending that money on safety equipment and training so that people can leave the boats tied to the dock. All right, thanks.
Public comment on item 19 by James Hahn.
Mr. Rogers is right. You can't rewrite history, which is what the publication he refers to has been doing every week during this campaign. Just really quickly, I wanted to point out that the same folks who have sat on this board and have said every single time bill and claims get pulled off of consent and discussed, the same commissioners who have gone, gosh, what are all these legal fees? Which commissioner is creating all these legal fees? Are the same exact commissioners who have turned around and then voted to give hundreds of thousands of dollars of the public's money to staff who have, I don't need to say this myself. You know this. You know already that the culture in this agency has changed, that things have improved for the better in a big way. And the one difference is that certain people are no longer with this agency. Though they're the same people hiring the exact same attorney who knows Peter Grinnell, your former general manager, to try to get money out of you, out of the public, who are coming to you to score political points while making a profit off of it. You cannot sit on this board and say that you are concerned about these legal fees and then turn around and then approve these settlements to staff who do not deserve them, and then turn around and try to make an example of the one commissioner who has actually asked appropriate questions of your staff. When checks are found in a drawer, uncashed, left there for months, who knows how long, I think asking your finance director if she has any sort of certification is the minimum question that this commission should be asking. Instead of punishing one commissioner for asking these questions, you should be asking yourself why you all have not asked these same questions and held your staff to account to create this better culture we see today. Thank you.
I have one comment.
Okay, Commissioner Crowley.
So I would like to thank our legal counsel. I know that having been involved with different public agencies, not even just the ones I'm on, but just seeing different city councils and other special districts and school boards, that the legal counsel we have is probably among the best in the industry in terms of public agency. So I was not privy to the information before I came on the board, but and without going into closed session information, I feel very confident that we're being represented very well. So thank you for advising us, and I hope that we can move forward with your continued support and legal counsel in the best way possible.
Thank you, it's kind of you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Bernardo.
I would just like to echo that and really thank our council and the council that they have enlisted and worked with to help us navigate through these these challenging issues that we've faced. So I would also like to say kudos. Thank you, Mr. Miller. Thank you.
And I'd like to make another comment.
Well, I think that you've come very close to bridging a very dangerous gap with your letter and some of your references. Yep. And if you can make it brief, that's fine, because we don't want to risk additional exposure.
Well, I'm sorry that you don't like the message, but I do have every right to speak on this. And I did want to mention that the council that helps the district on employment-related issues is not the same council that we have with us here tonight at this meeting. It's a completely different law firm. So just to make it clear, Hanson Bridget is not the council that has helped us with our past claim. which, by the way, was never a lawsuit, just to make it clear. And there are no lawsuits currently against the district that I'm aware of. The other thing I wanted to mention is that at the meeting where I asked innocently a simple question, which was about qualifications as they related to an audit, that meeting's videotaped and it's on YouTube. So anybody who wants to watch that meeting and see how I asked the question and how the question was responded to by Commissioner Bernardo is welcome to watch it on YouTube. So, you know, I have it linked on my website. It's no secret, and I am proud of the way that I handled the reaction to that question. I think I handled it very appropriately, and I think there was absolutely
Can we wrap up?
nothing wrong with me asking that question.
Thank you. Moving on to our consent calendar, item 1 was called bills and claims. Discussion on item 1.
Back up on the page.
Did she forget?
Okay, so I asked to have that pulled off. Just wanted to bring up a couple of points here. I did notice that we are now paying a third law firm, and let's see where it is. How do you pronounce this, Steve?
Resendez.
Resendez,
Yes.
thank you. So it looks like we've hired another law firm. This is related to another employee complaint against another employee, apparently. I don't know any details, I don't need to know the details, but I just wanted to point out that there is a pattern here of employee complaints, and it's something that we really need to get a handle on. If we continue to set a precedent of handing out large settlements, this may never end. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention, and that was the only thing I wanted to bring up on bills and claims.
Motion to approve.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve for the period ending October 5th, 2016, the amount of $368,029.22.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Bernardo?
Aye.
Commissioner Brennan?
Aye.
Commissioner Shane Carley?
Aye.
Commissioner Carabana?
Aye.
President Tucci?
Aye.
Melanie, for the record, Melanie, I heard 2 people second.
Yeah.
Did you get
I'll
that?
second.
Yeah, Virginia and Virginia.
Either one, it doesn't matter.
Item 10, extension of agreement with Robert Half, account temps not to exceed $275,000. Staff report.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh.
Go ahead.
The services that Robert have been providing, as you know, some of the recruitments that we've had have been extended, have taken longer than we anticipated. Positions that we had hoped we would be able to open up a couple of months ago are still being filled by temps. We all agreed on staff, the management, that we needed to allow the new Director of Administrative Services to be able to play a key role in how finance and administration is organized. So while we have budgeted positions, while we have recruitments and we have things to do, we wanted to hold those positions until their arrival. That's why the position that Robert Half has been helping us with has been extended, as well as we have been working very hard on some filing and especially some needed organization on our lease files, some other additional clerical help. And we have an additional, in addition to Yvonne Quigtar, who's the Robert Half support, we also have a clerical support person, Lori Millwood, who some of you may have met, who has been helping over the last few weeks.
And is she the person that's filling in for Debbie right now?
Well, I'd be careful about saying she's filling in for Debbie while she's on vacation, which she's really, we've moved Lori's location actually from where she was kind of working wherever there was room to Debbie's desk so that at least there'd be some kind of reception. Seemed like a good spot to put her, and there was a computer terminal and phone, and I think it has been helpful to the general manager who sits on that side.
Thank you.
So is there a motion to approve?
So
I move that we
moved.
approve.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Bernardo?
Aye.
Commissioner Brennan?
Aye.
Commissioner Jane Crowley?
Aye.
Commissioner Garvelia?
Aye.
President Matei?
Aye. Okay, moving on to item 13, Americans with Disabilities Act Evaluation and Transition Plan Services. Staff report, please.
Yes, we are moving toward and want to have a property-wide, Pillar Point, Oyster Point, and the administrative offices have a ADA transition plan conducted. Pursuant to a request for proposals in response to the RFP, we evaluated the two firms that did respond. One was Sally Swanson Architects, and the other was EMG. They both were, in fact, qualified candidates. However, we were, through careful and thorough us going through their proposals very closely, we did in fact choose and want to move forward with the Sally Swanson Architects. The district invited those two firms and individuals to provide us with written proposals. The evaluation and the survey, the scope was to include two phases: evaluation survey, review and analysis of the facilities, transition plan, collaborate with stakeholders to evaluate plan results, establish priorities, schedules for completion, and reach a consensus for a finished product. All the interested parties were required to respond with a detailed proposal by no later than August 5th, 2016. The two interested parties responded to the RFP and attended the afforded site visits. Pacific Access Consulting was partnered with EMG, and also the other consultant was Sally Swanson Architects. The RFP was clear that the respondents would be evaluated based on three criteria: understanding of and approach to scope, which was 45%, qualifications and relevant experience, which was 30%, and the cost proposal, cost of the proposal, which was 25%. The project itself was divided into three sections: Pillar Point Harbor, Harbor District Admin Office, and Oyster Point Marina. The respondents were able to bid on one, two, or all three. And again, the district staff, with the assistance of an objective outside party, the ADA coordinator with the city of San Mateo, which I reached out to, we evaluated the respondents and again determined that that based on the required criteria percentages, that the Sally Swanson Architects did in fact rank highest. So therefore, we recommend that the board authorizes the general manager to execute a standard time and materials contract with Sally Swanson Architects for the ADA transition plan for an amount not to exceed $66,160, including a 10% contingency on approval of the general manager.
So moved.
Second?
We do have a public comment before we vote. Mary Lorenas.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Mary Lorenas, and I actually sit on the Commission on Aging. I'm on my second term with the Commission on Aging. And as a commissioner, I also work with the Commission on Disabilities. I just want to say I really appreciate that you're moving forward on moving, the district into more ADA compliant. And I also want to say you might, I don't know if it's makes sense, but you might want to contact someone at the Commission on Disabilities because they could maybe give you some insight on what they might need. But also that when we do something for individuals with disabilities, we also address issues with the elderly. We also address issues for people with families and small children. So when we do this process, making ADA compliant, we're actually looking at more areas. So thank you so much for moving forward and addressing this. Thank you.
I just have a quick comment.
Commissioner Brennan.
Thank you. So I have raised the concerns about ADA compliance for a number of years, and I'm really very happy that we're moving forward with this. So I want to thank the staff for their effort, because I think it's really important, and it is it's about access for people, and it's also about liability too. So for so many reasons, we need to make some changes. And if there's an opportunity, I think it would be really interesting to do a site visit at both locations, but primarily at Pillar Point Harbor, to look at what might be done to improve ADA access. So I think I'd like to get better educated on the types of changes that might be made to make ADA improvements. And so I'd like to suggest that we schedule something that people could, the public could show up to, and take a little walk around Pillar Point Harbor and kind of look at the various areas where improvements might be made. Thank you.
Commissioner Bernardo.
Thank you. I also want to thank staff for bringing this forward. One of the things that in my agency that we were working with regarding ADA is website access too. So at some point in the future, I'm sure you will weave that into the whole, not only just sort of the physical, facilities, but also website as it relates to ADA.
I believe we had a motion and a second.
Yes.
Roll call.
Commissioner Bernardo?
Aye.
Commissioner Brennan?
Aye.
Mr. Giancarlo?
Aye.
Commissioner Perrone?
Aye.
President Mateusz?
Aye. Now, prior to going to item 14, I had a request for public comment for items not on the agenda, normally taken at the beginning of the meeting. We will provide some latitude here and say James Lee Hahn, public comment.
Thank you, President Mateusz, for being flexible as you have in the past. I really appreciate that. I just wanted to raise a few things real quickly. There's not a whole lot of meetings before 2017, so I hope staff will start working on a plan to get members of the public nominated to your standing committees. I've been asking about this for actually about a year now, so hopefully some action can move forward on that. Also, since it's been about a year, about that time we heard a lot from members of the board about geographic equity. My concern is that the folks who have spoken most strongly about geographic equity haven't submitted any sort of plan to this commission to make sure that equity and equitable access for all members of the county actually happens at the Harbor District. So those members, I hope they come up with a plan for that. Commissioners Ciancarelli, Commissioners Bernardo, and Commissioner Paravano. You all three spoke very strongly about the need for geographic equity. So as a resident of South County, I would particularly like to see what you guys want to do to bring members of communities from Redwood City, Menlo Park, East Palo Alto out to the coast. As far as I know, the San Mateo County Parks Department is already doing free shuttles from EPA to Edgewood Park. So that's something that I would like to see you guys take action on, since you guys spoke out about that. Lastly, real quickly, with reference to what a member of the public said at an earlier agenda item, I just want to say that this current race for the Harbor District has been one of the most negative I've seen. And I'm looking at you, Ms. Ciancarelli, because it's common knowledge that you're friends with an editor of a paper that was mentioned earlier this evening. And it's, let me just put it this way, when you see untruths about your friend being printed in media and your name is quoted all the time, it is very abusive. When I've come here and spoken out against you, I've spoken because I disagreed with you on positions. I've come up to you after meetings and said thank you for voting on certain things that I agreed with you on. I would like to see you extend that level of respect to your fellow commissioners while you're campaigning for election. Thank you.
Okay, item 14 was pulled by staff. Are we going to move that forward, or do you desire any discussion?
What I wanted to do my intention in pulling it was the first resolution and the first portion of it. It was pointed out that inadvertently the edits that I submitted to you would have had unintended consequences, so I'd like to only leave resolution number 3116 about the nomenclature changes for now, and after I clean up my previous error, we'll return with item 1.
So you want us to
Is there a
approve?
motion to approve Resolution 3116?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Bernardo?
Aye.
Commissioner Brennan? Aye. Commissioner Giancarlo?
Aye.
Commissioner Carolano?
Aye.
President Mateusz?
Aye. Is there a motion to adjourn?
And we have the Harbor Board Commission, the G, because I do have a comment to make. Item G.
I see item G. I'm trying to figure out how item G is different from item D.
Oh,
Sorry.
So item G, Board of Harbor Commissioners.
We already did that.
it's on the agenda.
Well,
I'd like to make a
apparently
comment.
there's
So
on the
I
agenda
would like
twice and-
to address, this is on the agenda and it is mine. I've asked through the chair if I could speak to it.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So just a quick comment in response to the campaign season. I agree, it's been very negative. I have absolutely no connection with the Daily Post, despite what the public thinks. And quite frankly, I've been traveling a lot, so it's not on my radar to talk to the press. However, it is nothing new that the Harbor District is in the news. So whether or not you agree with me, I think that I have tried to stay above the fray. And if there's any, if the way I've been treated for the last 10 months by members of the public and by my fellow commissioners in closed session is any indication on how this board is going to work together, I hope that that can be changed to a more positive environment. Thank you. So I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.